Hello everyone, welcome to Atlanta Experts and thank you for tuning in. The Atlanta market is hot, literally. Really high demand meets really low inventory, causing prices to keep going up. The question is where this is going. And this is the video is all about today. We have a group of buyers that continues to engage with the market, with the conditions the way they are, but there's another group of buyers at the same time, whether they gave up on this, the prices just reached up a level where their budget is not there anymore, or people just gave up on just losing house after house with all these bidding wars, whatever the reason is or the reasons are. This group is out of the market and they're sitting on the sidelines waiting for market conditions to improve. In other words, for more inventory to become available. So the question is, what needs to happen for more inventory to become available? And in order for us to understand that and to be able to predict how things are going to change, we need to understand how all this actually started. We need to go all the way back to 2008. The market crashed in 2008, everybody knows, but at the same time, four different elements were created or pushed that in their own unique way and their own unique pace basically brought us to today's situation. And by understanding what each element did, it's going to be easier for us to understand why we're at this point in time with this short inventory, and it's going to be easier for us to understand what needs to happen, if at all, to improve the situation. So number one, investors. This is the first element we're going to talk about. When the market crashed, you could have bought houses for 60-70% less, and investors from Georgia, from around the world, just jumped on this opportunity, brought here trucks loads with cash and bought anything they could. The problem with what they bought was that they turned most of it into rentals, and when they did flip some of these houses, those who bought them, the second phase of investors who came to buy these houses, turned them into rentals as well. So bottom line, investors extracted a huge amount of properties from the inventory back in 2008, inventory that is still out of the market today. Number two, building companies. In the aftermath of 2008, 50% of the building companies were wiped out, unfortunately for us. Those 50% were mostly small to mid-sized companies that specialize mostly in small communities, small subdivisions, exactly where the shortage is. And to top of that all, the companies that were still in play, it took them a couple of years to start building, but when they did, it was mostly rental apartments, and you can understand why. I mean, many people were out of their homes, needed somewhere to be. So not only that 50% of these companies were out, the other 50% were focused at the same time in building rentals rather than houses. Number three, lenders. At some point, lenders understood that they're losing money on foreclosure, so they decided not to rush to foreclose on a house that they don't have to. Only there's a huge group of houses that are still there, that whether their homeowners already left these houses or they're still there, but the banks are not foreclosing on it. But the situation, which we call zombie properties, causing for these houses not to be in play. Number four, homeowners. To understand what happened to homeowners, we need to go all the way back, not only 2008, but 2006, when the early signs of crash started showing up. Prices rapidly dropped in a very short period of time, and homeowners started seeing their home equity disappearing before their eyes. As I said, many ended up in foreclosures, but many others stayed. They had their job to support the family and to continue paying mortgage payments, so they had no problem staying in their house. And it took them all the way to 2018 when it was officially announced that home prices in 2018 finally reached their levels from before the crash. That made everybody really happy. The only thing is that homeowners who were there before 2008 discovered they're not the only one who their home now is more expensive. Everything else around them is the same thing. And if you own a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house and you want to downsize to 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath maybe, all of a sudden economically, financially, it doesn't make sense anymore. You discover that most of your equity is going to go now for down payment to the next house, and many of them reach the decision that it only makes sense to just stay in their current house. And we know that especially because last year, in my previous video, I talked about last year the amount of money that was spent by home buyers on expansions and upgrades and renovations overall to their homes, signaling to the market, hey, we're not going in the near future. We're going to stay longer. We'll just make our house, more comfortable for our current needs. Bottom line, again, for home buyers, it means that we have less houses for sale. So if we wrap up everything that I said until now, 4 elements working almost at the same time, causing a extreme short inventory, that you can now try and get your heads around what needs to happen to get us to where we were before that, and how many houses we still need to create to meet the demand. Speaking of demand, this is going to be the topic for our next video, and until then, be happy, be safe, and feel free to call me with any question real estate wise that you have in mind. Until then, bye.